Hey guys, welcome back to Labor Laws lecture series, and we are discussing Employee State Insurance Act 1948. And here is the syllabus for Employee State Insurance Act, and in this we have almost covered other parts, and now we are left with only medical benefits, whatever employees are going to get from ESI Act. And the other part which is left is the last section, adjudication of disputes and ESI court comparative analysis of ESI Act and then Employee Compensation Act. Okay, in this video we will discuss benefits, and in the next video we will be discussing about adjudication of disputes. Okay, the benefits are defined in section 46 to section 73 of Employee State Insurance Act 1948. And here are the benefits, key benefits which employees are going to get in case of medical injury, or sorry, in case of employment injury, maternity, and the other related areas. First one is a sickness benefit, and then maternity benefit, disabled benefit, dependents benefit, medical benefit, and other benefits like funeral expenses and vocational health checkups and other things. So these are the set of benefits which employees can avail under Employee State Insurance Scheme Act, okay, or Employee State Insurance Scheme. So let us look into one by one in detail of all these benefits. Okay, we were discussing about the benefits. So first one is a sickness benefit. Sickness means, what is sickness? Sickness signifies a state of health which necessitates medical treatment or a medical attendance and results in absenteeism from the work on medical grounds. Okay, any kind of issue, health issue, which results in absenteeism from the work because of the medical reasons, okay, due to some medical reasons, then that is called as sickness. And any financial support extended by ESIC, in the case of sickness, any financial support which is extended by ESIC for such contingency is called as sickness benefit. To support employee during the sickness, any financial support provided by, given by, or extended by ESIC is called as sickness benefit. To claim sickness benefit, there should be a medical practitioner certificate. Okay, unless there is a certificate from the medical practitioner, so employee cannot claim sickness benefit. And how much he can claim, and what is the limit for it, that all defined in Rule 54, and that limit will be set by central government from time to time. And for what period he can claim for claim a sickness benefit? It is for the certified period, whatever is certified from a medical practitioner, and it can be paid up to 91 days. Okay. And there is another one which is called as a extended sickness benefit. What does it mean? Okay, if there is a employee, if employee is suffering from a prolonged illness because of 34 specified illnesses, okay, there is a list of 34 specified illnesses like tuberculosis, leprosy, etc. If employee is suffering from any of these illnesses, in this case, employee can claim extended sickness benefit. This can be for the period of 2 years. Okay, this can be for the period of 2 years. But to get eligibility for getting benefit under extended sickness benefit, he must have contributed for 156 days in 4 preceding contribution period. Right? In the last 4 preceding contribution period, you guys know what is contribution period. Contribution period, there are 2 contribution period in a year. One starts from 1st April to 30th September. The second one starts from 1st October to and ends on October and ends on 31st March of the following year. So in those two, right, like that, in a 4 preceding period means it is a 2 years, he should have contributed for employee state insurance 156 days. And then only he can avail extended sickness benefit. What will be the benefit rate? It will be a 40% higher than the rate whatever is specified in sickness benefit. If it is 100 rupees a year, then it will become 140. Okay, so but after the calculation of a sickness benefit, if it comes 100, the extended sickness benefit will be 140, like 40% more. And then how many days he can claim? So he can claim for 91 days plus additional 124 days or up to 309, and in special cases it can extend up to 2 years. Then there is another type of sickness benefit, that is enhanced sickness benefit. This will be paid for getting family planning operations, vasectomy and tubectomy. In case of vasectomy, it will be a 7 days will be paid, and in case of tubectomy, it will be 14 days. Okay, vasectomy it is 7 days, and in case of tubectomy it is 14 days. What is the rate here? It is double the rate of a standard rate. Whatever per sickness benefit employee gets here, just double. If it is 100 rupees here it will be 200. Okay, this is double the standard rate. So now question comes, what is the standard rate available? Standard rate is applicable for sickness benefit. As of now, the standard rate is 70% of the wages. Okay, whatever employee is drawing, that is the drawing. So that 70% will be considered as a standard rate. Clear? This is all about sickness benefit. And now let's discuss the other benefit, maternity benefit. Okay. So maternity benefit is a cash payable to an insured woman for the absenteeism for maternity related hospitalization. Okay, maternity benefit, when it will be paid? When any employee, any woman who is insured under the maternity benefit act, any employee state insurance, and if she is absent to work because of maternity related hospitalization. Any maternity related hospitalization, in that case, the insured woman will get maternity benefit. Okay, this benefit will be for the period of 12 weeks. Hospitalization benefit will be for 12 weeks, that is nothing but 84 days. But in case of miscarriage and other medical treatment of a pregnancy, it will be payable up to 26 weeks from the date of following miscarriage. Because of miscarriage and there is some any medical uncertainties happen, then in that case it will be paid up to 26 weeks. And in case of any additional sickness happens because of a pregnancy, confinement, premature birth, of a premature birth of a child or a miscarriage, then they can claim for additional 4 weeks. Okay, the rate for maternity benefit is 100% of the average daily wages. Important point to note here is criminal abortion or miscarriage is something like criminal abortion or a miscarriage, then that does not entitle to get benefit. And if an employee is not using ESIC facility because of some issue with the available facility and other thing, and then in that case the bonus of rupees 1000 will be paid to insured women, that is from 1st April 2003. Okay, that's it on maternity benefit. Let's move to other benefit, disablement benefit. Okay, disablement benefit can be availed with respect to a temporary disablement and permanent disablement. Okay, it can be temporary or a permanent, or it can be partial or total. Okay, so the disablement benefit is given here. One is for temporary disablement for both partial or total. In case of temporary disablement, it should happen out of and in the course of employment, and then or occupational disease. If any work while doing for the purpose of the employment, for the purpose of the factory or establishment, and at the time and during the office hours, in that case the temporary disablement will be given. Any injury happens out of and in the course of employment, there are occupational diseases, this temporary disablement will be paid. Okay, the disablement benefit for the period as long as it is certified by medical practitioner. As long as medical practitioner certifies that the person is disabled and will not be able to come to office, till that time employee will be getting the benefit. What is the benefit rate here? it is a 70% of the daily wages. And this disability benefit will not be paid if the disability is only for less than 3 days. If it is less than 3 days disability, then the temporary disablement benefit cannot be availed. Next, so permanent disablement. What is permanent disablement? Any disablement which reduces the earning capacity of a person. Okay, if any disablement, cut off a hand or cut off a leg, cut in a leg, cut in a hand, whatever. So any disablement or a loss of eye, loss of hearing, any disablement which results in a reduction in earning capacity of a employee, that will be called as a permanent disablement. It can be a partial or a total. In this case, the medical practitioner has to certify that what is the loss of an earning capacity of a person, and based on that the rate will be fixed. Okay, and there is a rule 57 to fix the rate for permanent disablement. And as it is a permanent disablement and there is a complete reduction in earning capacity of a person, periodically, so it is not for a 3 months or a 4 months period, right? It will be for a longer period, the permanent disablement period. So in case of permanent disablement, there will be a provision to increase the allowances based on the cost of living index. There is a provision to increase the allowances next year, every year, based on the cost of living index. And in some cases, if any employee wants to convert that annuity every month, instead of taking every month as an annuity, he can ask for a lump sum payment. This is all about permanent disablement. So if there will be a loss of earning capacity, and this will be determined by medical practitioner, this earning capacity, it might be a partial disablement or a total disablement, and the disablement rate will be defined as per the provisions of rule 57, and it is completely based on the earning capacity which is lost by employee. And there will be a periodical increase based on the cost of living index, and employee can opt for lump sum payment also if required. The next one is dependent benefit. What is dependent benefit? Dependent benefit is a monthly pension payable to eligible dependents. Okay, it is a monthly pension payable to eligible dependents. If any person dies, then their dependent will be getting monthly pension. That's the dependent benefit. But the death should be because of the employment injury or occupational disease. Okay, how this benefit will be distributed? The benefit paid, like if a widow is there, then the widow will be eligible to get a pension during the lifetime or a remarriage. Okay, if a widow, and if she get remarried, then the pension will be stopped, otherwise the lifetime of the widow. Then legitimate or a adopted son, they will be getting a pension up to the attainment of age 25 years. The same way, legitimate adopted unmarried daughter, then up to the 25 years or until the marriage. Okay, so in case of a daughter, she will be getting pension up to 25 years or until marriage, whichever is earlier, then it will stop. And then infirm legitimate son or a daughter. Okay, in case of if a son or a daughter is a infirm, there is a physical incapability or mental illness, they will be getting pension even though they cross 25 years. They will be getting it till infirmity lasts, till they recover from the infirmity. They will be getting a pension. So the benefit rate is here 90% of the average fixed wages. Okay, 90% of average fixed wages. Okay, whatever is fixed wages, so average daily wages, 90% of that you will be getting it. And then medical benefit. Apart from compensation he gets for dependents get it, or some sickness allowances, sickness benefits, and then maternity benefit. The generic medical benefit also employee gets under this particular scheme. What are those benefits? The general medical examination for for him and then for a family member. One is the outpatient and inpatient treatment, all medicines and drugs, dressing and bandaging, pathological blood test and radiological services, X-ray and other things, antenatal and postnatal cases related to deliveries, emergency treatments. All these facilities will be provided to employees under employee state insurance scheme. To get the benefit, so not only this benefit, any benefit mentioned here, they should be they should contribute at least 78 days in the contribution period. If they contributed for 78 days in the contribution period, then only employee can avail the benefit of this these benefits. To claim a extended sickness benefit, he should make a payment of 156 days. That is the one exception, but for all other simple sickness benefit and then medical benefit, maternity benefit, dependent benefit, or any other benefit, they should pay 78 days in a contribution period. And it is a responsibility of a state government to provide required infrastructure for ESIC for giving a medical services. This is one additional point, nothing to do with the medical benefit, but this kind of establishments will be there in every state, and state government has to own it. Apart from the key benefits, whatever we discussed, 5, there is another set of benefits. There is another set of benefits, and including funeral expenses. If any person dies, the eldest member of the family will get the funeral expenses. Earlier they used to call it as a funeral benefit. Now it is called as funeral expenses. So the person can claim this funeral expenses within 3 months, and the amount payable for funeral expenses is rupees 15,000. Apart from funeral expenses, the other benefits what employee gets is old age medical care. If after retirement, ERS or VRS, whatever the way, if employee retires from the office and then if he wants to continue the old age medical care, they have to pay rupees 120. Okay, rupees 120 per month. By paying rupees 120 per month, they get a employee state insurance scheme benefits, old age medical care benefits. And then there will be a vocational rehabilitation for permanently disabled and physical rehabilitation for employees. So these things are available to employees. So this is in this is in detail about employee state insurance scheme benefits. So we discussed the 6 benefits which are defined in section 46 to section 73. What are those 6 benefits? Sickness benefit. Under sickness benefit, it can be a normal sickness benefit, extended sickness benefit, and then enhanced sickness benefit. And after that, maternity benefit, and after that, dependents benefit, and then medical benefit, funeral expenses benefit, and we have other benefits. So here is some general provisions which is applicable to all the benefits here. These benefits are not assignable or attachable. You cannot attach it. These benefits are non-transferable. It is only for an insured person and their family members. Most important point which you guys have to remember is this one. Okay, this point is the most important point in the entire act. You guys have already noticed, if you have already gone through the Employee Compensation Act, if you are aware of the benefits of the Employee Compensation Act, there are many overlapping benefits in employee state insurance. For example, dependent benefits. In Employee Compensation Act also, employee gets it. In ESIC also, employee, there is a dependent benefit. So this act clearly says that if a person is gaining, if the person is getting similar benefit, if a person is getting benefit in ESIC and they should not get or they should not take any benefit, they should not avail any benefit in any other labor legislations. similar. Okay, if a dependent is getting compensation and a pension from ESIC, then the dependent is not eligible for Employee Compensation Act benefits. So Employee Compensation Act is not applicable for the persons where ESIC is applicable in terms of dependents benefits. Okay, and even total disablement benefit, partial disablement benefit if employee is disablement. Okay, this benefit also, if employee is obtaining in ESIC, then Employee Compensation Act is not applicable. Simple. This is the most important one, guys. Please remember that if employee is availing any benefit in ESIC, then he should not avail any benefit in other compensation or any other acts, similar compensation in other acts. Okay, but if the injury happened because of some third party, the party, okay, for example, employee is going to deposit a cash, a accountant is going to deposit a cash, and then there will be an accident. Okay, in this case, employee can claim compensation from this third party who is responsible for the accident, but not from the other acts. Okay, so please be clear, this is one of the important point in across Employee State Insurance Act. Next one, cash benefits cannot be commutable. The cash benefits which are payable in case of a sickness or a maternity and other case, right? It cannot be commutable, except the permanent disablement benefit. They can take it in lump sum, but in any other cash benefits will not be paid lump sum. Okay, commutable means a lump sum at one shot. No, because every time they have to give a medical practitioner certificate, they are ill and they are sick, then only persons are going to get those benefits. And the other point is benefits cannot be combined or claimed together. For example, if you are claiming a sickness benefit, then you will not be able to claim maternity benefit. The same way, if you are claiming a maternity benefit, then you will not be able to claim disablement benefit. So you have to choose any one of the benefit, but you cannot combine both the benefits and claim it. Okay, benefits cannot be combined and claimed. In case of employer fails to deposit the contribution within the stipulated time, employee may disentitled to avail the benefit or may become entitled to lower the scale of benefits. As we know, employer collects employee's contribution and then he adds his contribution and deposit in ESI fund. If employer fails to deposit this fund, then employee may disentitle to avail the benefits. He may not be allowed to take the benefit. But if ESIC believes, they are very confident that with the proof submitted by employee that already it is deducted and employer has not paid, if they are satisfied with the information provided by the employee, then they may consider for full entitlement. So the entire decision here is on ESIC. So employee has to furnish all the details with respect to his employment and other things. So then only ESIC will take a call whether to consider for full entitlement or not. And because of the illness, employer should not reduce the wages for his contribution to ESIC. Okay. Employer should not reduce wages of his contribution to ESIC. As we know, employer has to pay 3.25% and 0.75% employee. So employee can deduct only 0.75% from employee salary and 3.25% should be contributed by employer, and it should not be deducted from employee salary. Only 0.75% should be deducted. If any insured person availed benefit illegally, ESIC can recover the amount. So if any insured person availed some benefits illegally, though he has not contributed, he went with his ESI card and then he got treatment and other things. So in any case, in those kinds of situation, ESI can recover the amount. And because of the illness, employer should not dismiss or punish employee during the period of sickness. In case of a sickness period, employer should not dismiss or punish any employee. These all are general provisions regarding benefits. So we discuss 6 benefits, and then we also discuss some general provisions. That's it from medical benefit per se. And if you have any questions about medical benefits, ESIC benefits, please put your questions in comment box. And also I request you to please subscribe our channel Parva Media. We will be, it motivates us to post more and more videos on legal courses. Thank you.